It's a thank you. Sorry about that, Mandy. So this is recorded, and what I had shared the last time is the reason we're recording it is we want to be very consistent in the message that's being put out into our community, because sometimes a person will ask a question that you didn't know that was the question that you needed answered, and so making it as equitable as possible. The other thing that we're doing is that we do want questions here, but if you go back to your office or your home and you're thinking, oh shoot, I wish I had asked that. We ask that you submit that as a question to our generic email address, winonacf@winonacf.org, and you'll see that in this presentation. And what we will do is we will not answer those individually, but those will be posted on our page for the impact grant, where everyone can see the question that was asked and the way that it was answered. We will redact your name so you don't have to worry about, oh, was this a stupid question or was it a brilliant question? They'll all be treated the same. So the reason we're doing that is that this is a new adventure for us, and as I was starting to say, that it has been a journey. And it started with a strategic plan, and it started with a great board that was engaged in this. And so Kathy Peterson is here as the chair of our board. And if you want to just say a few words, we'll start there.
Yeah, this conversation started about 2.5 years ago, and we were informed during our strategic retreat about an initiative like this that was done by the Quad City Foundation. And on a much larger scale than we're able to do, but the concept behind this new initiative really excited the board. And it's taken us this long to get to the point where we can actually launch it. And the point of this new and larger grant initiative is we really want to elevate and uplift the work of our area nonprofits. We want to help you do your jobs in a way that it's more impactful for your populations, and that it's just easier for you because your jobs are hard enough as it is. So we're hoping that this initiative is going to help make your jobs and what you do in our community a little easier. And as far as the info sessions, we want you to be really clear on what we're asking you to do and how this is all going to roll out. So that's why we're having these info sessions.
Yeah, we want to be respectful that as nonprofits, you have a lot on your table already. Mm-hmm. And so we don't want to make it any more complex than what it needs to be. As Kathy shared, this is something that we modeled after the Quad Cities Foundation, substantially larger. They had a whole department dedicated to what they consider their transformational grant. And they go out and collect data, and they go and source what's the big issues that are pressing in their community, and then they boom present their big grant. And we, as a working group, we had a committee that Kathy served on, Mandy Olson, who's our finance director, Jackie Chaplesky, who is the finance director for Windcraft, a division of Fanatics, and I did it again. And Morella Cunningham, who runs a nonprofit organization down in La Crosse and also serves as a member of our board. And so we've talked a lot about it and tried to figure out, well, what is that big issue that we want to have an impact on? As a parallel, Quad Cities, their big issue this year was gun violence. And that's obviously not a big issue that's surfaces for us, but things like, we know housing is an issue, we know mental health is an issue, we know that food insecurity is an issue, there's issues in social justice, and we just kept circling around and decided we're going to do something different. We're going to ask for a call, letters of intent, that allows every nonprofit to source ideas. So when I say source ideas, it is a plural, so no nonprofit should think that they have to whittle down which idea they think is going to have the best opportunity. And the reason we're doing this is a part of what our mission is. And our, whoops, dang it. wanted to slide this out of the way here. So our mission is that we're a catalyst for igniting generosity and building a vibrant and enduring place we call home. So the big impact that we want to have with this grant is definitely to elevate and have a significant impact on a particular cause, but we also want to see our community respond in a way that says, hey, we can be doing generous things too, and hopefully inspire people to, whether they're contributing to or through the community foundation or learning about the needs that are out there and granting or making gifts to you all directly. So here we go. So how are we rolling out the program is that we are going to be focusing very specifically on 501c3 public charities. There was a reason for that. And one of the big reasons is our own capacity. We have 3 people that work here, an equivalent of 2 employees. So like you all, we have a human resource capacity issue as well. And so if you are a 501c3 organization, we also want that you have been operating for at least 2 years. You must be current with your tax filings. Obviously, we have some requirements from the IRS that would require that of us. And that you also must have, your board must be full in compliance with your bylaws. So the example that I give is the Winona Community Foundation's bylaws say we have to have at least 9, but no more than 15 board members. So if I was applying and I only had 8 or 7, you would not be eligible. We want to make sure that you're in compliance with your bylaws. And here's where the next part comes, and that's that the nonprofit would be a lead applicant and administrator of the grant if you are collaborating with other entities. And this is where I want to make sure that we spend a little extra time, because when we say that, it says the following are excluded from consideration. They're excluded as the lead applicant. Okay, so an individual. We are not able to grant to individuals regardless of this program or not. So an individual is not eligible for a grant or this program. A for-profit entity. Again, we are an organization that supports nonprofits, and so a for-profit entity would not be eligible. Fiscal sponsored organizations. Fiscal sponsor organization, the Community Foundation is a fiscal sponsor for numerous nonprofit or organizations that are charitable in nature, but not qualified as a 501c3 charity. And then also if your organization is new, operating for less than 2 years. So if you're one of those, and I believe Dive Rescue is one of ours, and you're saying, well, why am I here? You may have a collaborative effort with a 501c3. And so it's working with that 501c3. For Hiawatha Valley Mental Health in the room, it might be that a partner entity could be the county or the city, so it can be a governmental partner as well. So I'm going to pause here and find out, do we have any questions on that part of the grant?
No.
All right. Other things that we exclude then is, so let's say you meet that, you're that 501c3, we're not going to do a grant award for academic or medical research. An example I used in our last session is that maybe Winona Volunteer Services wanted to find out what the root cause is for food insecurity in Winona. That would be a research type project that we're not looking at funding. We're not going to fund capital campaigns, political or partisan purposes, payment of debt or legal settlements, retroactive funding. So let's say you were starting, you have a program and it's going to continue, but part of your funding is like, well, we spent $20,000 preparing this program already. We won't retroactively fund something like that. We carved out capital improvements or additions to public or private educational institutions. That's just a blanket grant statement for our grant making. Activities that are non-secular or promote a religious doctrine. And then establishing or adding to endowment funds, scholarships, or as a part of an overall fundraising effort. Okay. Is that questions on that?
Do you have a more specific definition of capital improvements that others have maybe asked about, or?
So a capital campaign, for example, we know Winona Volunteer Services is in a capital campaign, so we would not accept a grant proposal for $100,000 towards their capital campaign.
Okay.
You know, just that blanket kind of thing. The capital improvement to public or private educational institutions, that was a carve out because in our community grant program, we start to see trends of this classroom wants iPads, this building wants a new kitchen, this, you know, and when you have schools, it's once you open that up, it doesn't create a lot of space for the other things to come through. But let's say what would be an example? You're expanding or building upon something that already exists, and you need to do some renovation to the space to deliver the service or program that you're doing. Does that make sense, Kathy? You're kind of.
So you're saying that's something that we would or wouldn't?
I'm saying it would. So let's say this room here, we need to convert into a dental office so we can give free dental care to anyone who walks off the street. Part of that might be acquiring some of the dental equipment, but that wouldn't be, we couldn't just say we're funding the dental equipment.
Yeah.
Am I kind of making sense? And I'm gonna kind of stare at the folks out there in Zoom world. Does that make sense? Mandy, would you confirm that I articulated that correctly?
Yeah, I think so. You know, again, we have the letter of intent process. So, you know, being part of the committee, I feel like maybe we didn't talk about the capital improvement side so much. We did focus on programs and projects. But it doesn't mean someone can't throw it out there for the letter of intent.
Good answer, Mandy, much better than mine.
Yes.
So let's, yeah, so let's talk about that letter intent, to give you the timeline that we've gone through as we've progressed on our journey here. We announced our grant on October 10 at our founders event. It has been in the newspaper, it's been on our website, it has been on our social media. So we want to make sure people know that this is out there. We're holding these information sessions and we intend to have our recordings available on YouTube. The first session is already out there. This one I was saying we might miss that because of how they are recorded through Zoom, but we will work hard to get that up there. And then we're going to create time for people to submit questions via email if they have them. And as I said, we're going to source those and put them out on our impact grant webpage. So all of those will be accumulated there no later than October 25. So you can research that if you're concerned about questions. We're not taking individual questions because just like we saw, you know, you get Nancy Brown says something today and then she might say something the next day, and we just want that consistency. So then it's the letter of intent. And what we really are trying to share with the letter of intent is that it is not meant to be a complex part of the process. It's really about sourcing ideas. Kind of, we talked about the idea of Shark Tank for projects. So it's a pretty easy online. You have a title for your grant request. What's the total project, program, or cost budget, and what are you requesting? This is a one-time $100,000 grant. If your proposal is $87,000, you know, it's $87,000, but we are not looking for to fund multiple requests. So if someone came in, well, if I only ask for 30,000, my odds will be better. We want big impact, and we're put our stake in the ground and said, one big grant of $100,000. You'll see there's a project start date and a project end date. We want this wrapped up no later than December 2026. So basically it's a 24-month type of grant. And when we go back to the timetable, you'll see that you will know on April 1 if you received the $100,000 grant. So we do want your partners listed if there's a partner, and look at that brief overview. Share how and when this project was developed, an overview of intended outcomes. It's the elevator pitch. And that's what we're looking for right there. What is it going to do to help move a project forward, something that's been kind of simmering or something that's ready to grow? You don't need to go back and think of something. That's not what we want. We don't want you to spend time, oh, how can we get this money? What's already in your mind? The only requirements for attachments is that we want a list of your current board members with their email addresses. We want a 2022 income statement. And those can be scanned and put into a PDF. If you do not have the capability of scanning to PDF or have them already that way, you can come here and we can get them scanned for you. It's easy enough. So that is the letter of intent. Questions on that?
I just want to emphasize that in your letter of intent, we want to hear your enthusiasm, your passion for what you really want this money to do for the community.
Internally, once we get the letter of intent, we have the committee that's been working on this for months. And you heard who's on that committee. We're going to vet through those letters of intent and bring it down to at least 3, no more than 5, that we're going to invite for a full application. You will know if you're being brought into the full application period by December 15th. And then you have until January 31 for your full proposal. We are going to have our whole board, so not just the committee, our whole board will be invited to be in that full proposal review process. And we will be conducting interviews, so we have any opportunity for clarifying questions. And the intent is to take to our board the final recommendation at the end of March, which is when our traditional board meetings are, so that we're prepared to make that award announcement on April 1. So what is the full application? So this is something you probably do want to be thinking about if you're pitching an idea that gets the go ahead. It is going to be in an online form. We are still working on it. We're trying to structure it in a way that it isn't repetitive for you and can really source out what makes this proposal exciting. If you have collaborators, we're going to want the names of the key contacts with those collaborators, along with their endorsement of the proposal. What does that mean? I, Nancy Brown, am aware, and our organization is committed to this proposal, and then sign it. So we know that you're not throwing names in and then all of a sudden going to them and saying, hey, we got this grant and we want you to participate with us. If there were any key staff changes or board changes, we want to know that. So if a key staff would be if the person who submitted the grant proposal is no longer there, or the key person that's heading it, or your key organizational leader, we just want an update on that. That's not going to put you at a disadvantage. And then if you've had any board changes, we want to make sure that we know you've got that full complement of your board. We're going to ask for the proposal budget and the financial statements for your organization for the month ending December 31, 2023. Questions on that? Such a
Oh, that's quick. So the
Yeah.
letter of intent you mentioned, you need the budget.
For the program project proposal.
So that's not a detailed budget, it's the total total request that we think it'll be, or
We would like to have high level detail, if that makes any sense. This is, this is something I mentioned, we are not a government grant, so I don't want to see someone saying that here's salaries broken down into this. No, we say here's
just like-
salary wages, that kind of blanket.
Yeah.
Is that,
that's-
okay, is that helpful for those of you on Zoom? Okay. Good question. So how the heck are we going to evaluate the full proposal? We wanted to put this out because it is hopefully will help you in answering your questions. I mentioned that we will be doing the reviews. All of the way our process works with our grant reviews is applications are reviewed independently. So all of us review independently. My vote doesn't count, by the way, but I still review all of them so I can be able to contribute to the discussion. Once they are reviewed by committee, they come together and then we do a consensus meeting. But with this particular grant, because we think it's important enough, we're going to have that interview process. After the interviews, we will then have a consensus meeting to determine or what the project is going to be. So if you go out to our impact grant website under the FAQs, you will see a high level of what the scoring rubric looks like. And these 5 bulleted points are the ones that we are looking at. We do have a full scoring rubric that we looked at other grant making organizations and then used the expertise of Morella Cunningham, who has developed rubrics in the past. And so just a quick little look at what we'll be using as our tool. So with the community need, you'll see it's scored 1, 2, 3, and that is the proposal redundant of work already being done, all the way to the proposal demonstrates a significant, critical, localized, and timely need. So we'll be using those types of phrasing to help inform our scoring. But when you look at it, so you've got the community need, what is it in the community? Is it truly a need? What is your strategy? And what's the feasibility of that strategy working? So if you were trying to cure the opioid crisis within 20 months in Winona, is that feasible? Maybe your strategy shows that it is. So we want to see that. What's the impact or the return on investment? And it's not going to just be pure numbers, because there's a certain population that might need a tremendous amount of investment, but it might be a small population. So we want to look at that. Your partners and collaborators, we're hoping to see some collaboration. That doesn't mean that there's not, that every proposal is going to have it, but we are looking for that. How does this proposal fit your organization? Is this something that you're really aligned to do? So we've got dive rescue. If you decided that you were going to get into as removing snakes from people's basements, we'd be like, what are you doing that for? Might be needed, but are you the right people to be doing it? Program evaluation, just what is it that you're going to use to determine whether or not what you're doing worked or is working and will continue to work? So do you have a mechanism in place for that? The budget, is it a reasonable budget? Does it make sense for what you are trying to accomplish? Sustainability, you heard me use a couple different phrases. Is the budget reasonable to accomplish it? So does it have to be sustained? Does it, and if it doesn't need to be sustained, you're still probably going to score higher on that, because if you can complete it. Is it something that if we gave this grant to you and the grant money runs out, that it's just gonna fall off a cliff? Or are there opportunities for you to take that and leverage it to get more sustainable dollars? Because right now, this is a one and done grant for us. We're not gonna be able to come back year in and year out with $100,000 for your project. And we're gonna look at your organizational health. We want to make sure that if this investment goes to your organization, that you're going to be around to deliver the great impact that you have on our community for as long as your mission is needed. And then funding opinion. And quite honestly, that is truly an opinion. Is Nancy Brown excited about funding this? There are sometimes we get proposals and you're like, meh. And not that it's not a good project, but it might not excite us. And so that's really the one spot where the individual gets to say, woohoo. So up to 3 points in that whole thing. So I'll pause again and see if there are any questions on that. Are you seeing anything out there in Zoom world, Mandy?
No, I am not.
Okay. All right, so we're coming to the end with questions. You'll see on our this is the link to the impact grant where all the questions are going to land. It's also where you have a link to our YouTube channel, but really if you just go to youtube.com and search on Winona Community Foundation, you'll come to our channel. And like I said, the one from Tuesday is already up there. And then the one from today, like I said, what we learned is that it's not as easy as just uploading it. So it might not get up tomorrow, but crossing our fingers. And we're back. And here's the page. If you want, oh, she did. Well, there it is. There's the YouTube channel. Did you do that, Mandy?
You know it.
All right. So, questions? Good.
I do have one. So I read somewhere the geographic area is a 15-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
So where that comes in question is our agency, the services that we are looking and programming are based out of Winona, but we provide services throughout the counties. So we might end up in a home in St. Charles. I think it's over 15 miles.
Yeah.
We might end up further out than the 15-mile, but it starts here.
As long as the bulk of the work is impacting this area, but if the grant request was to do something specifically in St. Charles, but if that's what the letter of intent is.
Okay.
Yeah. I do want to, I should call this out on how it's funded. I mentioned that one of the reasons we're doing this is we want to be true to our mission, to ignite generosity. These dollars are here because there were people before me and before Kathy and before Mandy that set out to create a permanent endowment for this community. And we're hoping that with time that this endowment will grow. We've had good investment returns and well-managed budgets that have allowed us to carve this out and hopefully inspire others to say, hey, I might not be able to make $100,000 grant or gift to a cause that is important to Winona, but collectively we can do that. So hopefully it will inspire people to support the community foundation's community impact endowment, and that we can grow that over time so that this isn't a one and done, that we're able to continue to provide $100,000 year in and year out and have it grow beyond and just have that permanent source of charitable dollars to invest back into our community. So
I just want to make the point that we're looking to all of you, like Nancy has said in the past, we don't, as a foundation, we don't know what we don't know. You guys are working with the populations in greatest need in our area, and you have much more of an idea of where these dollars could have the biggest impact than we do. But this is a new initiative for our foundation, so we're sort of considering we're partnering with our area nonprofits because this is new for us as well, so. You mentioned Nancy, but we're kind of walking alongside each other with this initiative. And we'll see how it, when it comes out the other side, how our community is the better for it, so.
And patience with us, you know, we might make some mistakes along the way, but as Kathy said, we're learning together.
Nancy, can I add one more thing?
I was
Done
gonna
such an excellent job today. Aaron Young brought this up at the last meeting, but this is very separate from our regular community grant program. So, you know, we have our 2-cycle community grant program year after year that'll come open in the spring. Someone applying for this or even receiving it does not affect their ability to apply for our regular community cycle program.
Thank you. Excellent reminder.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead.
Well, so I want to thank you and the board. I mean, this is wonderful for the community. So whoever, it's going to be great, whoever gets the award. The one question the only other one I'll ask, and I might have others that I'll email, is, how will the recipient be reimbursed the funds? Is it a one-time amount, or is it, they submit expenses, then get reimbursed? I mean, how will that work?
We actually did have this conversation about what that looks like, and I think because we've not ever done this before, it would probably be part of the interview process to find out, you know, do you need this cash right away? Is it something that would, you know, we can do quarterly granting, you know, we're gonna work with whomever that person or that organization is. Yeah. Question?
Yeah, I was gonna follow up too about kind of what Amy had said about the impact grant doesn't affect the regular community grants. I'm assuming, does that work vice versa? So we have received a community grant.
Oh.
That doesn't make us ineligible for the impact grant.
Correct. Yep. So, yep, this is a whole separate gig.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anything else? That's it. Thank you. If you have questions, don't call me, don't email me, email WCF@winonacf.org. And if you know of somebody who might have been a good collaborator with you that you don't know that they knew, let them know, tell them to go out and check out the videos. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Oh, Brittany, you just